what do you think? I mean, can they be mandated to cut back? And why wouldn't they have to if that's simply what the flyers want?
Yeah, and Kelly, you're right. Never imagined that airlines would practically stop flying and there would be so much to talk about, right? But the issue here is that one of the strongest relationships in all of airline economics is the relationship between how many seats you pack on the plane and the unit cost, the cost of carrying each seat each mile. And for all of the more noticed things that airlines have done in recent years to cut costs, really one of the less sexy but most important ones they've done is pack those seats on the plane. And then there's a relationship, obviously, between their costs and airfares. So if you're basically going to force them to reduce capacity, you're going to push their costs up and push the cost of flying up. So then it basically becomes a value judgment, right? We can't have people 6 feet apart from each other on an airplane. Is 18 inches better than nothing at all? I don't know. Yeah, I'd probably rather have 18 inches rather than nothing at all. Probably rather have 100 people on a plane instead of 150. But am I willing to pay as much more as it would cost to do that? Different people will have different answers.
Well, and Phil, it means that the people, at the bottom of the income chain are going to drop out. So in other words, it's making flying more expensive, making it more of a luxury, product again. And I guess I go back to whether or not it's mandated. Is the idea that we have to protect flyers from themselves, that people would go ahead and pack on these planes if Congress doesn't mandate this?
That is partially the idea, Kelly. Look, people will continue to fly, more people will, and as that happens, will we be back to the levels we were last year? Let me show you a typical 737. Last year, 84.4% of the seats on a typical 737 were filled. So you had a smattering of empty seats on most flights. This is what Representative Peter DeFazio, who runs the Transportation Committee, is proposing. He says, do not book the middle row. The airline should not do that, and they should limit capacity to 67% of the seats being filled. By the way, that means you'd get about 18 inches of elbow room with the person next to you. That's not socially distant.
Exactly.
And there are even a few people who are saying, hey, it should be true social distancing on a plane. Let me give you some perspective on what that would mean. On a typical 737, you might get 20 passengers in economy and 4 in business class. That is an unsustainable business model, would never fly in the industry. Airlines would say, no, we'll go bankrupt before we do that. It's not that they don't care about the safety of passengers. It's that this is an industry that is built on the idea you put as many people on the plane as possible. You need that volume in order to turn a profit.
Right. And I guess, Seth, I'm interested in what this is telling us about how we're actually all responding to coronavirus. The idea, as Phil said, if you can really only fit 20 people on a plane with social distancing and they're all using recycled air anyway, I mean, the very act of getting on a plane is a pretty risky one. So it seems that the message is either people want to take that risk but should be discouraged from doing so. I'm just trying to understand what, it seems to all be coming down to the airlines, but there's a lot of different things going on here.
Yeah, airlines, look, airplanes and airports were not designed for social distancing, were they? And yeah, with the lack of sort of national guidance with a lot of things right now, but certainly this, it is up to the airlines. We've seen them struggle with, implementing mandatory masks and temperature checks and all the rest of it, and all of them come to different conclusions in some cases. But yeah, as Phil said, that math would take us way back in time, to where flying would be a privilege. And I think we are at a point here where at some point here where the very most vulnerable people are just going to have to stay home, unfortunately, as the country begins to open up. And, whether it would be safe for them to be on an airplane anyway, even at any price, a question. And if you can't answer that question, then you're trading that for the certainty of higher fares for everyone else.
Phil, I guess that's what I'm saying is I wonder if this is all just an exercise in making ourselves feel like we're doing something that is neither true social distancing nor barring airlines from flying.
Well, I think you're right, Kelly. And look, these airlines, they need to put as many people on these planes as possible. And so if you force them to keep the middle seat open, can they do it? Yes. Will they raise fares? You bet they will. And then you'll have people complaining, well, the airfares have gone up. They're up 40% or 35% compared to where they were last year. Why are they doing this? It's pretty simple. These airlines are paid to transport you and I from point A to point B, and there is a cost involved. They need to at least make that cost, and then hopefully, from their perspective, running a business, they turn a profit.
Yeah, it's going to be wild to see what happens here. I feel bad for everybody involved, up and down. Flyers, the airlines, the passengers, everybody. Seth Kaplan, Phil LeBeau, thanks, and we'll see where it goes from here.